We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam introduction, and we have read the initial, I would say, 2/3 of it. So we are starting with this after consulting with Kesha Bharati. Who will read? Anybody would like to volunteer? Okay, I can read the first paragraph. After consulting with Kesha Bharati, Lord left Navadvip for Khatwa to formally accept the sannyas order of life. He was accompanied by Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mukunda Dutt. These three assisted him in the details of the ceremony. The incident of the Lord's accepting sannyas order is very elaborate, describing in Chaitanya Bhagavat Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. All right. Who will read next?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thus, at the end of his 24th year, the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life in the month of Magh. After accepting this order, he became a full-fledged preacher of the Bhagavad Dharma. Although he was doing the same preaching work in his householder life, when he experienced some obstacles to his preaching, he sacrificed even the comfort of his home life for the sake of the fallen souls. In his householder life, his chief assistants were Srila Advaita Prabhu and Srila Srivas Thakur. But after he accepted the sannyasa order, his chief assistants became Srila Nityananda Prabhu, who was deputed to preach specifically in Bengal, and the six Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, headed by Srila Rupa and Sanatan, who were deputed to go to Vrindavan to excavate the present places of pilgrimage. The present city of Vrindavan and the importance of Vrajbhumi were thus disclosed by the will of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I think we'll keep reading. Most of the things here are, very clear about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so everybody can pay attention and read, and then devotees can pause and share among themselves whatever um, in noteworthy points they would like to share, or something, some philosophical connections if they can remember from Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, or other books. Okay, so please keep reading.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
The Lord, after accepting the sannyasa order, at once wanted to start for Vrindavana. For 3 continuous days, he traveled in the Radha Desa, places where the Ganges does not flow. He was in full ecstasy over the idea of going to Vrindavana. However, Srila Nityananda diverted his path and brought him instead to the house of Advaita Prabhu in Samtipur. The Lord stayed at Sri Advaita Prabhu's house for a few days, and knowing well that the Lord was leaving his hearth and home for good, Sri Advaita Prabhu sent his men to Navadvip to bring Mother Shochi to have a last meeting with her son. Some unscrupulous people say that Lord Chaitanya met his wife also after taking sannyasa and offered her his wooden slipper for worship, but the authentic sources give no information about such a meeting. His mother Shochi was present and confirmed that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met his wife at Navadvip.
Hare Krishna, I'm unable to hear anything. Anybody else can hear?
No,
No. Oh, I think I was muted. I don't know how that
I
happened.
think
I'm
we read
sorry.
till his mother, and then suddenly it got muted as well.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Um, so from where it was that you couldn't hear from, should I just continue? Okay. He, his mother met him at the house of Advaita Prabhu, and when she saw her son in sannyasa dress, she lamented. By way of compromise, Prabhuji it went away. Okay,
Sorry, Mataji, I had this mistake.
that's fine. She requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily be able to get information about him. The Lord granted his last desire of his beloved mother. After this incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all the residents of Navadvip in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. Hare Krishna.
Can we read? Can I read? The
Yes,
Lord,
please.
the Lord visited many important places on the way to Puri. He visited the temple of Gopinathji, who had stolen condensed milk for his devotee Srila Madhavendra Puri. Since then, deity Gopinathji is well known as Shir Chor Gopinath. The Lord relished this story with great pleasure. The propensity of stealing is there even in the absolute consciousness, but because this propensity is exhibited by the absolute, it loses its prevented nature and thus becomes worshipable even by Lord Chaitanya on the basis of the absolute consideration that the Lord and his stealing propensity are one and identical. This interesting story of Gopinathji is vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishna Dasa Kaviraj Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can I read? Hare Krishna.
Please, Mother.
After visiting the temple of Shirchor Gopinath of Remuna at Balasore in Orissa, the Lord proceeded towards Puri and on the way visited the temple of Sakshi Gopal, who appeared as a witness in the matter of two Brahmana devotees' family quarrel. The Lord heard the story of Sakshi Gopal with great pleasure because he wanted to impress upon the atheist that the worshipable deities in the temples approved by the great acharyas are not idols, as alleged by men with a poor fund of knowledge. The deity in the temple is the arch incarnation of the personality of Godhead, and thus the deity is identical with the Lord in all respects. He responds to the proportion of the devotee's affection for him. In the story of Sakshi Gopal, in which there was a family misunderstanding by two devotees of the Lord, in order to mitigate the turmoil as well as to show specific favor to his servitors, traveled from Vrindavana to Vidyanagar, a village in Odisha, in the form of his arch incarnation. Arch incarnation. From there, the deity was brought to Cuttack, and thus the temple of Sakshi Gopal is even today visited by thousands of pilgrims on the way to Jagannath Puri. The Lord stayed overnight there and began to proceed towards Puri. On the way, his sannyas rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu. The Lord became apparently angry with him about this and went alone to Puri, leaving his companions behind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. Okay, who will read next? Any volunteers?
I can read it, Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
At Puri, he entered the temple of Jagannatha. He became at once saturated with transcendental ecstasy and fell down on the floor of the temple unconscious. The custodians of the temple could not understand the transcendental feats of the Lord, but there was a great learned Pandita named Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya who was present, and he could understand that the Lord's losing his consciousness upon entering the Jagannath temple was not an ordinary thing. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the chief appointed Pandita in the court of the king of Orissa, Maharaj Pratap Purda, was attracted by the youthful luster of the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he could understand that such a transcendental trance was only rarely exhibited and only then by the topmost devotee who are already on the transcendental plane in completely forgetfulness of material existence. Only a liberated soul could show such a transcendental feat, and the Bhattacharya, who was vastly learned, could understand that this is the light of the transcendental literature with which he was familiar. He therefore asked the custodians of the temple not to disturb the unknown sannyasi. He asked them to take the Lord to his home so he could be further observed in his unconsciousness state. The Lord was at once carried to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who at the time had sufficient power of authority due to his being of um, Sabha Pandita, or the state dean of faculty in Sanskrit literatures. The learned Pandita wanted to scrutinizely test the transcendental feats of Lord Chaitanya because often unscrupulous devotee imitate physical feats in order to flaunt transcendental achievement just to attract innocent people and to take advantage of them. A learned scholar like the Bhattacharya can detect such imposters, and when he find them out, he at once reject them. Hare Krishna.
I can read next, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. In the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya tested all the symptoms in the light of the Shastras. He tested as a scientist, not as a foolish sentimentalist. He observed the movement of the stomach, the beating of the heart, and the breathing of the nostrils. He also felt the pulse of the Lord and saw that all his bodily activities were in complete suspension. When he put a small cotton swab before the nostrils, he found that there was a slight breathing as the fine fibers of cotton moved slightly. Thus, he came to know that the Lord's unconscious trance was genuine, and he began to treat him in the prescribed fashion. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could only be treated in a special way. He would respond only to the resounding of the holy names of the Lord by his devotees. This special treatment was unknown to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya because the Lord was still unknown to him. Babu. Acha, ek minute do, bacha. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya because the Lord was still unknown to him. When the Bhattacharya saw him for the first time in the temple, he simply took him to be one of many pilgrims. Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mantri, for reading. Anybody else who has not read would like to volunteer? Those who have read can also volunteer again. It's totally fine to read it. We'll try to do as much as we can today. That way, we will be able to get started with the first canto in the next a couple of days. Yes, Anika Mataji, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Anika Mataji.
Oh, sorry. Bharti Mataji.
मैं बोल भी दूंगी उससे. In the meantime, the companions of the Lord who reached the temple a little after him heard of the Lord's transcendental feats and of his being carried away by the Bhattacharya. The pilgrims of the temple were still gossiping about the incident, but by chance, one of these pilgrims had met Gopinath Acharya, who was known to Gadadhar Pandit, and from him it was learned that the Lord was lying in an unconscious state at the residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who happened to be the brother-in-law of Gopinath Acharya. All the members of the party were introduced by Gadadhar Pandit to Gopinath Acharya, who took them all to the house of Bhattacharya, where the Lord was lying unconscious in a spiritual trance. All the members then chanted loudly the holy name of the Lord Hari as usual, and the Lord regained his consciousness. After this, Bhattacharya received all the members of the party, including Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and asked them to become his guests of honor. The party, including the Lord, went for a bath in the sea, and the Bhattacharya arranged for their residence and meals at the house of Kashi Mishra. Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, also assisted. There were some friendly talks about the Lord's divinity between the two brothers-in-law. And in the argument, Gopinath Acharya, who knew the Lord before, now tried to establish the Lord as a personality of Godhead, and the Bhattacharya tried to establish him as one of the great devotees. Both of them argued from the angle of vision of authentic Shastras and not on the strength of sentimental vox populi. The incarnation of God are determined by authentic Shastras and not by popular votes of foolish fanatics. Because Lord Chaitanya was an incarnation of God, in fact, foolish fanatics have proclaimed so many so-called incarnations of God in this age without referring to authentic scriptures. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or Gopinath Acharya did not indulge in such foolish sentimentalism. On the contrary, both of them tried to establish or reject his divinity on the strength of authentic Shastras. Hare Krishna.
I can read next. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, you have to read from later it was disclosed. Please.
Yes. Later it was disclosed that Bhattacharya also came from the Navadvipa area, and it was understood from him that Nilambara Chakravarti, the maternal grandfather of Lord Chaitanya, happened to be class fellow of the father of the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In that sense, the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya evoked the pattern affection from the Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya was the professor of many sannyasis. In order of the Sanskarya Sampradaya, and he himself also belonged to that cult. As such, Bhattacharya desired that the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya also hear from him about the teaching of Vedanta. You want me to read the next one?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Those who are followers of the Sankara cult are generally known as Vedantists. This does not, however, mean that Vedanta is monopoly study of Sankara Sampradaya. Vedanta is studied by all the bona fide Samprayadas, but they have their own interpretation. But those in the Sankara Samprayada are generally known to be ignorant of the knowledge of the Vedantist Vaishnavas. For this reason, Bhakti Vedanta title was first offered to the author of Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare
The,
Krishna.
the
Go
Lord
ahead.
the Lord agreed to take lesson from Bhattacharya on Vedanta, and they sat together in the temple of Lord Jagannath. The Bhattacharya went on speaking continually for 7 days. The Lord heard him with attention and did not interrupt. The Lord's silence raised some doubts in Bhattacharya's heart, and he asked the Lord how it was that he did not ask anything or comment on his explanation of Vedanta. The Lord posted himself before the Bhattacharya as a foolish student and pretended that he heard the Vedanta from him because the Bhattacharya felt that this was the duty of a sannyasi. But the Lord did not agree with his lectures. By this, Lord indicated that the so-called Vedantist among the Sankara Sampradaya or any other Sampradaya who do not follow the instruction of Srila Vyasdev are mechanical students of Vedanta. They are not fully aware of the great knowledge. The explanation of the Vedanta Sutra is given by the author himself in the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. One who has no knowledge of the Bhagavatam will hardly be able to know what the Vedanta says. The Bhattacharya, being vastly learned man, could follow the Lord's sarcastic remarks on popular Vedantist. He therefore asked him why he did not ask about any point which he could not follow. The Bhattacharya could understand the purpose of his dead silence for the days he heard him. This showed clearly that the Lord had something else in the mind. Thus the Bhattacharya requested him to disclose his mind. Upon this, Lord spoke as follows: My dear sir, I can understand the meaning of the sutras like the Janmoday Janmoday Asya Ayat Yonitvat and Atho Brahma Jigyasa of the Vedanta Sutra. But when you explain them in your own way, it becomes difficult for me to follow them. The purpose of the sutras is already explained in them, but your explanation are covering them with something else. You do not purposely take the direct meaning of the sutras, but indirectly given your own interpretation. The, the, the Lord thus attacked all the Vedantists who interpreted the Vedanta Sutra fashionably, according to their limited power of thinking to serve their own purpose. Such indirect interpretation of the authentic literature like the Vedanta Sutra are hereby continued by the Lord. The Lord continued, Srila Vyasdev had summarized the direct meaning of the mantras in the Upanishad in the Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, you do not take their direct meaning. You indirectly interpret in a different way. The authority of the Vedas is unchangeable and stand without any questions of doubt. And whatever is stated in the Vedas must be accepted completely, otherwise, one challenges the authority of the Vedas. The council and cows during the bone and the stool of two living beings. But because they have been recommended by the Vedas as pure, people accept them as such because of the authority of the Vedas. The idea is that one cannot set his imperfect religion above the authority of the Vedas. The order of the Vedas must be obeyed as they stand, without any mundane reasoning. The so-called follower of the Vedic injunctions make their own interpretation of Vedic injunctions, and thus they establish different parties and sects of the Vedic religion. Lord Buddha directly denied the authority of the Vedas and he established his own religion. Only for this reason, the Buddhist religion was not accepted by the strict follower of the Vedas. But those who so-called followers of the Vedas are more harmful than Buddhists. The Buddhists have the courage to deny the Vedas directly, but so-called followers of the Vedas have no courage to deny the Vedas. Although indirectly they disobey all the injunctions of the Vedas, Lord Chaitanya condemned this. The example given by the Lord of the council and the cow during are very much appropriate in this connection. If one argues that since cow dung is pure, the stool is learned Brahman is still more pure. His argument will not accept it. Cow dung is accepted and stool of highly posted Brahman is rejected. The Lord continued. The Vedic injunctions are self-authorized, and if some mundane creature adjusts the interpretation of the Vedas, he defies their authorities. It is foolish to think of oneself as more intelligent than Srila Vyasa. He has already expressed himself in his sutras, and there is no need to help from personalities of lesser importance. His work, the Vedanta Sutra, is dazzling as the midday sun. When someone tries to give his own interpretation on the self effulgent sun like Vedanta Sutra, he attempts to cover this sun with the cloud of imagination, or cloud of his imagination. The Vedas and the Puranas are one and the same in purpose. The assertion is absolute truth, which is greater than covering else. The absolute truth is ultimately realized as the absolute personality of Godhead with absolute controlling power. As such, the absolute personality of Godhead must be completely full of opulence, strength, frame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. It, the transcendental personality of Godhead is astonishingly ascertained as impersonal. The impersonal description of the absolute truth in the Vedas is given nullify the mundane conception of the absolute whole. Personal feature of the Lord are completely different from all kind of mundane features. The living entities, the living entitles are the individual persons, and they are all parts and parcel of the supreme whole. If the parts and parcel are individual persons, the source of emanations must be impersonal. He is the supreme amongst all the relative persons. Hare Krishna. We have discussed many times about this, like the Vedas and Puranas, and we could not follow. I mean, we cannot give our own interpretation, our own thinking, how we understand. That's what it has been explained, and that's why the Lord was very much silent and he was not speaking anything. It has been saying explained over here. Whatever the Vyasdev explained, that the lesser intelligent people, we should not give the importance for the mundane activities. That's it, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for reading. So this is very interesting. Here, one noteworthy point is when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was he was great scholar, Pandit, and he had a lot of knowledge of the scriptures. So he used to teach the sannyasis even. Prabhupada writes he's the professor of the sannyasis. So basically he used to teach, and these sannyasis, and they were very usually very amazed and learning a lot from him. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 24-year young sannyasi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya felt, oh, this person may fall down if he doesn't have a solid grounding on the Vedanta Sutra. He started explaining, and the beauty is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he paid years for 7 days, 7 nights. Sorry, not nights, 7 days with full patience. And that totally changed the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because naturally, if you hear from someone nicely, then he or she also wants to reciprocate in the same way and hear from you. So 7 days, no issues. So then naturally when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke, he heard, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually transformed him, convinced him. He said, not only what you are talking about, the Vedanta Sutra, I have complete knowledge, but also there are things in your knowledge which are actually covering the real truth, like the clouds. So then they had discussion. This is very interesting when we are interacting with other people. Sometimes we are not able to follow the recommendations of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya recommended Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnunam Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Satahari. Be more tolerant than a blade of grass. Sorry, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer all respect to others and expect none in return. So if we are solidly grounded in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then we can practice this. If we are not solidly grounded and somebody says something different, then either we become offended or we become receptive and to them by offend. If we feel offensive, then we'll have arguments and we'll get angry. And if we are receptive to them, then we will not be in a good standing and we will get distracted from what they are telling and start following them. So both these are problematic. Having a balance in between will come as one matures in spiritual life by reading the scriptures, chanting the holy name, and associating and taking guidance from the devotees who are more experienced. That way, we can see how this beautiful, beautiful knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam will be spoken by the Lord through our mouths, through our, we'll be used as an instrument by the Lord to share this knowledge of Bhagavatam to everyone. And that essentially is what the great personalities, the acharyas, they are doing. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had many encounters and he dealt with them in a very, very intelligent and specific way. And it is something noteworthy, which we have to try to study, learn, and analyze so that we can incorporate noteworthy points in our life. Thank you, Suresh Prabhu, for reading. You want to continue, Suresh Prabhu? Maybe a couple more paragraphs? Okay, anybody else would like to continue?
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes. Please.
I can, yeah, yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, is it from the Vedas inform us? Hello, Prabhuji.
हाँ उसके ऊपर वाला सब माताजी उसके ऊपर से
The impersonal description?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The impersonal description of the absolute truth in the Vedas is given to nullify the mundane conception of the absolute whole. Personal features of the Lord are completely different from all kinds of mundane features. The living entities are all individual persons, and they are all part and parcels of the supreme whole. If the part and parcels are individual persons, the source of their emanation must not be impersonal. He is the supreme person amongst all the relative persons. The Vedas inform us that from him, Brahman, everything emanates, and on him everything rests. And after annihilation, everything merges in him only. Therefore, he is the ultimate dative, causative, and accommodating cause of all causes, and these causes cannot be attributed to an impersonal object. The Vedas inform us that he alone became many, and when he so desires, he glances over material nature. Before he glanced over material nature, there was no material cosmic creation. Therefore, his glance is not material. Material mind or senses were unborn when the Lord glanced over material nature. Thus, evidence in the Vedas proves that beyond a doubt, the Lord has transcendental eyes and a transcendental mind. They are not material. His impersonality, therefore, is a negation of his materiality, but not a denial of his transcendental personality. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji, for reading. So why is Prabhupada explaining all of these? Because Prabhupada is going into the discussion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was basically presenting Mayavadi impersonalistic philosophy, and Lord actually explained to him the true meaning of the Vedanta Sutras and the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So, what is the meaning of natural commentary? Can anybody tell? Natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra.
Means Prabhuji, it has been explained as it is. Not people has not given their own interpretation.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, so there are different types of commentaries. One commentary is like we read the commentary of Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada is taking each and every statement made by Krishna or Arjuna and then explaining. So that is commentary or purport of an acharya. But natural commentary means, let's say, a lecture was given in the class, and one way of commenting is Suresh Prabhu came, he gave a full lecture for half an hour, and then every word of the lecture I will start taking one sentence and I'll explain what he means, then another sentence or another paragraph, then I'll explain. So this is one way of doing commentary. The other way of doing commentary is whatever he taught in the half an hour, I come and tell those people who didn't attend or who don't know, I'll tell everything in different words, explaining the same points, hitting on the same very signs. Let's say Suresh Prabhu explained how the third law of Newton works. And then I come and I explain the same thing which I heard from Suresh Prabhu, but explain it in different words. So that becomes like a natural commentary on it. Does it make sense? Means that you are telling the same thing, but you are telling it in in a different manner so that it is more understandable. Does it make sense to the devotees? What is the natural commentary? Hari Hari Bol, I can't hear anybody.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is here explaining to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Prabhupada is explaining to us that how these things are to be understood. So I think we read till here, right, Mataji? This was the last paragraph you read, right? The Vedas. So we will start reading after this from tomorrow. Is that okay? Start.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
So tomorrow is Ekadashi, and tomorrow
Yes.
is Sunday also. So devotees can utilize this opportunity. So anybody has any plans how they want to utilize it?